Hello and welcome to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. And today we have with us ChiQuitta Williams, who is the director of Rizpah Network Incorporated. She will be here talking to us about the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala, which will be Saturday, December 15, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the DoubleTree by Hilton, which is located at 1770 US 45 Bypass here in Jackson, Tennessee. So thank you for being here today with us, ChiQuitta.
Thank you so much, Tony, for having me. I appreciate it.
So before we talk about the gala, I like to let our listeners find out about who we have on the show. And I know you currently live in Washington, D.C. now, which is so cool. You're like right there in the thick of everything that's going on. But you actually are from Jackson, Tennessee.
I'm definitely a Jackson native, born and raised. I have spent my life here, grew up North Royal Street, East Jackson, my area, have deep roots in the community. I'm here, pretty often, like every year probably for the last 6 years. But, most of the time for family. I left in 1991 just to go to college.
Okay. What's college? What high school did you graduate from?
JCM. I'm a Cougar Nation, proud Cougar. I'm definitely a proud alumni. And that's kind of been as JCM has, Jackson has evolved and JCM is no more, that kind of brings me home. So I've come to a couple of the tailgating events, but I am definitely a proud Cougar. All
right. And so after JCM, where did you go?
So I've spent my first year, I went to actually Clark, Atlanta, in Clark, Atlanta. So AU Center. And then I transferred and went to West Virginia University where I finished my degree.
Okay. So how did you end up in Washington, D.C.?
Work took me there. So I lived after graduation. When I left from West Virginia University, I went to Atlanta to start work and career. Okay. I also finished my master's there as well.
What did you master in?
I have a couple of degrees. Okay. So I have master's in divinity, and I graduated from the Interdenominational Theological Center. It is also a part of the AU Center. Okay. It is a seminary component. I did pastoral care and counseling, so that was 2006. And of course, my other degrees is I did a postbac in psychology, and my undergrad degree was health service administration. From West Virginia University. Okay.
And so then you got to Washington D.C. and what did you do? What do you do there?
So I work in community. I work for a community agency. I did a couple things, but now I am with a community agency where we deal with homeless population in terms of getting them housed. Okay. And so that's a lot of the work that I do, mostly counseling and therapy work. And I also have a private practice where I do pastoral care and counseling.
Okay. How did you get into that? Was that a passion of yours of helping people? And very indirectly.
I think I spent my entire life wanting to go to law school, which is where I really focused my time and attention, even as I was matriculating, starting at Clark AU, just really trying to I did the LSATs, I did everything. But of course, if you're a college student, then you're thinking, am I going to finish up a degree and then go right for 3 more years without having a job? And of course, college, if you know anything about college, it gets kind of strains your finances. So in my thinking, I sort of said, okay, you need to get a job. And so I delayed kind of my admissions to law school. Okay. And I started working in a psychiatric hospital. And so I worked there for 5 years. And so as it turned out, I have more of a propensity for counseling. And I did not know I didn't know I would be a people person. So I do dual. I do administrative stuff still because I have that background. Right. Because that's what I trained for. That's what I hope to go to school for. And then I figured out that I really had a knack for really helping develop people, managing people, and definitely counseling. And so that led me to pursue now a postbac in psychology. That's awesome. And then of course I got a call to ministry while I was there. Didn't know that was in the works either. And so it kind of all made sense. And so I pretty much spent my life, people, pursuing knowledge and really have a tremendous passion for people. So that's kind of how it happened. I didn't know it would happen because I thought I would be in a courtroom actually debating But I basically spent my life building and helping people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We still have a few minutes in this segment.
Okay.
And because you live in Washington, D.C., and like I said, you're like in the thick of everything. You see everything. I mean, you're like right there in the heart of the White House and Congress and the Senate and everything. In the field that you're in, and how many years have you been in that field?
Almost close to 20.
20.
Mm-hmm. And I worked in every.
How have you seen it change from administration to administration? And it's not to pick on any certain administration, but we do know that some things aren't as even out as they could be.
Right. Well, you see, what I found is, and I worked in a couple big cities. Atlanta was one. Then I came home for about 3 years and worked in Nashville. Mm-hmm. D.C. is different because D.C. resources are there and readily available. They probably have more readily available services than anybody because D.C. is not a state. It is, they have separate kind of entities, so they're not on it. It's really peculiar, but even though they have abundance of resources, access is still restricted. Mm-hmm. So if you deal in my field, like for mental health and social services, then you can have an overabundance of resources, but not a lot of access. And what I mean by that is they're available, but people are maybe not knowledgeable, or it's so much to work those systems that, even if it's available, they don't get utilized to their fullest because the access is hard. And that could be for limited hours. It could also be that you're limited in budget, so you have less people resources. Right. And then you're less available to even give the resources that are available to people because you don't have the staff. Right. So, so D.C. has been fortunate. There have been a lot of cutbacks, but in terms of social services population, people are faring a little better. Okay. But with coming cuts, that's not going to be so real. Right. And it's real in terms of D.C. also has a unique housing market where it's not affordable to live there. Right. And so you have some of the residents that do not, and that do not have access to housing. So it's changing because people and resources generally tend to be on the back burner of a budget and not at the forefront, and people still come with a lot of need. And then people have a lot of biases about how people get help and who gets helped. And so then there's some pick and choosing. Right, right.
How many, I know you said you worked with homeless people at one point.
So that's been, but the largest amount of people the population is mental health. Okay. And then social services, but a lot of mental health. And that will be inpatient psych, outpatient psych, and community mental health. And so really that's the crust of my experience that I've dealt with. Okay. And so a lot of my tendency is really dealing with people in those areas because we usually tend to be tabooed mostly. And because it's such a stigma, they don't get the help that they need, which also impacts a lot of what happens in our world. Right. Because we're not really...
I know we're going over our 8-minute mark, but I know here not too long ago we had a meeting, a forum about there being so many people who were in jail who actually had mental health problems and really didn't need to be locked up. They actually needed help. Is that something that you all found there in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, it's true across the populations in general, and especially when you have young, because we definitely, unfortunately, live in a society where people are impacted by trauma earlier in their life. In fact, I say that this has been the most abused generation. We've seen more violence occur, but we've also missed a good point to really help people cope and cope well. And as a result of that, we're seeing the impact. So you can very well have children who start out very early, and we know this culturally, and we know it statistically, very early either using and abusing drugs because of trauma, in whatever form, or just because of the increase in social media and how that resonates when you have people who are trying to figure out their lives and everybody seems to be doing well, and that bullying, whatever, that self-esteem, so you see kids as early as 10 committing suicide. We didn't used to see that. And that's a lot. So it's really shifted. And so trauma-related incidents, we just miss it. You can be 16 or 17, 18, you'll start self-medicating, you don't know what's going on. By the time you're like 19, 24 range, we have people who are, actively have some kind of mental health problems, but they've never been treated, diagnosed. They've just kind of been self-medicating, or you see them very angry, or they show up and do all this other kind of stuff. But it's very clear and very evident very early.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with ChiQuitta Williams, the director of Rizpah Network Incorporated, and we're going to talk about the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. We are back with ChiQuitta Williams, the director of Rizpah Network Incorporated, who are they're hosting the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala, which will be Saturday, December 15, 2018, at the DoubleTree by Hilton, located at 1770 US 45 Bypass in Jackson, Tennessee. It will be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tell us a little bit about what Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala is.
Well,
actually,
okay.
I'm sorry. Tell us about Rizpah Network Incorporated, and then tell us about the gala.
Sorry, thank you. Well, Rizpah, it actually comes from a biblical character, and it was a grieving mom who grieved the public execution of her 2 sons along with 5 other young men. Mm-hmm. And it really is an awareness of grief and loss because we have a lot of violence. And a real component of it is that how do you strengthen what remains after someone has encountered such a senseless violence, right?
Right.
And so the undercurrent is that we're addressing taking a stand against violence, but really how do you work with children and families who have suffered this immeasurable loss,
right,
and get them connected to supports? And then how do you galvanize a community so that we know that we have something that's real that impacts lives? And so Rizpah really stemmed out of the fact that my best friend lost her son in 2008, very tragically, and she grieved so. It was a pain that I just couldn't touch.
Right.
And what I knew as a clinician is that I needed to get her to do something. And so purpose comes out of pain.
Right.
And so I said, let's talk about it. Let's begin to have this dialogue because one of the things that happens is that people stop talking about this level of violence just because it's so horrific.
Right.
And there's nowhere to go with this pain. And it was nothing I could touch. I basically watched her just dwindle away. And so I said, hey, let's try to get together. Let's rally people and support. And really it came to inspire. Give hope because hope is taken. And then how do you inform and raise awareness to get people on board that this really impacts your life well beyond the media scenes, well beyond crime scenes, that this is something that families and particularly our children who often get looked over and left out, they can't deal with.
Right.
And so it was really formed as a support group that kind of help mothers and parents get through this grief process. And that's another thing we were talking before about mental health. We kind of overlook it. We just want you to do well, but we don't give you the supports and the tools to do it. Right. And so what I know about everything is that how do you galvanize and get people together and then really support people through such horrific tragedies. So that's the essence of Rizpah.
How long has that network been?
So we started in 2013. It's 6 years. This is the 6th year. And we just started here. And half of the time I was always coming home for funerals of young men that I've known and I loved. They're not statistics to me. I knew their names. I knew their families. And those are faces you just don't forget.
Right. And
this kind of galvanizing. And so we started that in 2013. I had no idea a year later that my family would be in the exact same place dealing with the death of my nephew. Had no idea. But it made sense. It didn't really make sense. But when you think about purpose and how God positions you in seasons, then you know that your purpose. And so it's very personal. It was personal when we started it, just trying to help my friend. I just couldn't stand to see her like that. And so what do you do? And so that's pretty much how we came to be.
All right. And so, again, the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala. Tell us about the first one and what your goal for that was.
So the first one was really galvanizing the community. It was a prayer breakfast, and when we do 3 in 1, it's 6, and we deem them differently. So the first one was a galvanizing, and it was a prayer breakfast. We were really seeking resolution, seeking healing, and we really wanted to understand this thing that had begun to impact. Of course, the 90s were horrific. You got the 80s. You started 80s. By the time we got to 90s, Jackson was all over the news. I was in New York.
Cocaine.
I was in New York. I'm looking at the newspaper. I was like, my city is not on the news. It's not on the cover of New York Times, And then population and density, And so for small cities, it's catastrophic, and it hasn't changed, right? And so I talked to Chief Weiser a lot, and he's this year, like, the numbers are getting better, but it's just really rough. And so because it's my city and it's now on the radar, like it's a big city, I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? And so the purpose was just to galvanize and get people together, just start having this dialogue, because dialogue is so important that we don't miss an opportunity to do that.
Right. All right. So tell us about this year's gala, the theme, and what's going to go on.
So the Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala, what we always do is try to create a ritual of remembrance. And so the memorial part is just how do we remember the people? And we've done that a couple ways. We do it through the last 3 years, we're doing it through visuals because we have artists from throughout the country who actually produce portraits of young men. And so what you'll see is the families lining up with those tribute portraits that we call. We have one artist in Danville who has created 34 portraits of individuals from Jackson and throughout the country for us. And so kids stand with their portraits and they see their fathers. And some families don't have portraits. They only, if they do, they don't have a legible one. And what he's done is a masterpiece. And so that's a healing element.
Right.
And we always try to call their names because one of the things about it is that people stop saying their names because they see the stress or what it causes the parent.
Right.
But that's one of the things that people want them to remember because you can't erase a life.
Right.
And so in kind of honoring them, we're saying that they were here, they mattered, and there's proof of life there. And so, and then the other part of it is just a standing in his place, daughter-son dance, because we also want it to be upbeat. Right. And we want to create memories for those young people, whether they're uncles or their grandfathers are escorting them to kind of stand in place of those fathers or those persons who are no longer there to kind of have this event that you would have with your child.
Right.
Like they'll miss the first with their fathers, but if they had someone to stand in, then they would be there.
Right.
And so we're conscious of that. And then just having the community, because it is a community thing, for the community to bring their families to create those memories that you want your children to have.
That's right.
And so that's pretty much that. And it's always Santa Claus. We make it joyful and upbeat because the holidays are the kind of the most difficult time to be without loved ones.
That's right.
And so we kind of merge all that stuff together.
That's right. It says, and I'm going to list some of these people, and if I don't get everybody right, let me know. So Tamika Shields is going to be the mistress of ceremony.
Yeah, dynamic young lady from Memphis, Tennessee. She's a teacher by trade, just dynamic.
And Tawanda Randolph is going to be the vocalist.
A native girl, hometown girl, Jackson, another Jacksonian.
Music by DJ Smooth.
DJ Smooth will be doing our music.
And Barry Sharp is the photographer.
Yeah, he'll be doing it. And everybody knows Barry. He'll be doing photography for us, and that's including in PAC. We want to make sure that all of the parents get to, at least have one picture with their either the son or daughter, just so they can commemorate the event.
All right. Did I leave anybody out? Is there somebody else?
And of course, what we say, DJAF, and that's Devin Fields will be our Santa Claus. We always have him on sale on a Santa Claus every year, and so he'll be our Santa this year.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up with ChiQuitta Williams, who is the director of Rizpah Network Incorporated. We're going to give you that information about the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala. Again, when we come back, we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr., and we are sadly ending our show with Director ChiQuitta Williams of the Rizpah Network Incorporated. But before we end, I want to wish her a happy birthday because December 2nd is her birthday, and I appreciate her being on our show, and we wish her many, many more happy birthdays. Again, the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala will be Saturday, December 15, 2018 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the DoubleTree by Hilton in Jackson, Tennessee, which is located in 1770 US 45 Bypass. How much does this event cost?
Thank you for wishing me a happy birthday.
You're welcome.
So the event is going to be, it's $35 for a couple.
Okay.
And if you find, if parents have additional children, then it's $5 for each additional child. So $35 for a couple, that will be father, son, daughter, mother. And if there are additional childs within the same family, then there's $5 extra. And then $20 for couples.
All right. Okay. And you all know what? I forgot what day this what day this is supposed to be.
It's December the 15th.
Yeah, this is going to the event's going to be December 15th. ChiQuitta's birthday is going to be December 2nd. this is going to be airing on November 25th. So that's why. So I messed up, but we're wishing her a happy early birthday. So we want to make sure that she's here so we can wish her a happy birthday. But again, that's the 6th annual Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala, hosted by Rizpah Network Incorporated, Saturday, December 15, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the DoubleTree by Hilton in Jackson, Tennessee, located at 1770 US 45 Bypass. Be sure to go on Facebook, and you can like the Rizpah Network Incorporated. Just type that in. It's RIZPAH Network Incorporated. You can find them on Facebook. You can also find the Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala in Facebook events. All you have to do is type in Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala, hosted by Rizpah Network Incorporated, and you'll find it. Just type in Wish Upon a Star Memorial Gala to find out more information and to buy your tickets. Be sure to check out this awesome event. It's so important to have something like this here in Jackson. Is it only here in Jackson? Have you been contacted by other cities to try to do something like this there?
So I do. We do. Jackson is based, but I also do work in D.C. and Atlanta, and we serve families there as well. Because we always, each year, give toys. They'll get. JPD has been tremendous in terms of helping us get toys for kids. We've partnered with a lot of organizations. So, we do some things in D.C. local. But I wanted to do 2 cities, but I really focus on Jackson. But we help out wherever we go.
Okay. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Definitely. You can contact me via phone. That's going to be 202-910-6527. Via email, that's going to be ChiQuitta, ChiQuittaWill @gmail.com. So ChiQuittaWill@gmail.com. Or you definitely can inbox us on Facebook on our Rizpah Network page, and we'll get back to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Always come. You're always welcome to come back and join us. Thank you to our sponsors, Baskerville Funeral Home, R&R Custom Wheels and Tires Express, and Helping Hands of Tennessee. This, again, is the last week of November. I hope you all had a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you didn't eat too much turkey, but if you did, hey, New Year's resolutions are coming right around the corner. This is the holidays. Continue to look out for one another, be there for one another. Love on each other. There are people who have lost ones they miss, who have been gone for years, or who may have just recently passed. It doesn't make the hurt any less. So make sure nobody's alone for the holidays. Let them know that you care about them, that you're there for them, and just take care of one another and have a wonderful and blessed week. And we'll talk to you next week. God bless.